Hey there, guys. This is Ed, and I'm coming back to you for another week. As you may have seen, we're not beers and bots this week, but we are beers and cookies. Normally, when the broadcast, we're going to go ahead and feature out a beer that we're going to be trying for Friday night gaming. But we've had December, and in our house, that signals the start of its Christmas cookie baking. I, so with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do some beer pairings for this month. Got a lot of cookies that are baking, so we're going to go ahead and try to sample up some stuff, match them up, and hopefully you can take something back out of this that's going to work for you outside of just milk. The reason why we're going with the cookies, kind of have a slight obsession when it comes to Christmas cookie baking. Go a little bit overboard, nuts, whatever you want to call it, to the point. We've got this guy right here. This is the haul that we had of cookies last year. About 24 different recipes that we've got in there. This is my recipe book from last year. You can kind of go through, everything's documented out. Yeah, I'm a little bit obsessed when it comes to baking. But with all the cookies that we've got there, we'll say don't eat them all. Do eat some, but a lot of them do parse out, give them out to family, friends, send them out to some old college buddies, people I used to work with. So if I held on to all of these, definitely, I probably weigh about 400 pounds by the end of a Christmas season every year. So, but as I said, we've got cookies going on. We got cookies out the wazoo coming at us. So what better thing to do in this season than to go ahead and review some beer and cookies pairings. And hopefully this will help us break us out from traditional milk and cookies. Because we all know that Santa, well, he's just going to want beer more than milk on Christmas Eve. So with this week, we're going to go with some of our classics. And I'll fire up for here. I'll fire up the beer cam. I guess I should have relabeled it as the cookie cam. And see, we got our nice plate set out for Santa Claus. What Santa Claus wouldn't like that? So as you can see, we got our, cookies, and we're going to go with classics. That's what today's baking session was. And we're going to go with something what could be no more classic than the Oatmeal Raisin cookie. And we're going to pair it up with something from Allagash. As you kind of see, I guess, with my cookies here, with my oatmeal, they're not loaded with oats. I kind of, it's the way I like them. That's okay. I kind of want more of the cinnamon and raisin flavor to come through than just being overloaded and all you taste is just oats in your cookies. We'll save that for our butterscotch oatmeal cookies, which are just loaded with oatmeals at the wazoo and butterscotch. So when thinking of pairing for this, with doing oatmeal, figure we could do you could just take the quick out, and we could have just went with, an oatmeal stout, say from Sam Smith. But for me, that it's just too samey. I wanted something going outside of the cookie profile, outside of that oat. And to me, oatmeal, that's breakfast. These cookies are definitely a breakfast thing. We've got, everything that you could want for breakfast: oats, raisins, eggs, flour, milk even goes into these guys. So that says breakfast. And what else goes with breakfast? Not for me, but for most people, it's going to be coffee. Coffee is definitely a breakfast thing. So what better to kind of pair it with than we'll go with the whole breakfast theme for that. But again, we could have gone and kind of just taken an easy road and again stayed in our stouts and gone with the coffee stout. But I wanted to look for something outside of that, something to kind of bring through the cinnamon and raisin of the cookie and not just kind of keep it, matchy with that. So with that, as we could see, we've gone to Allagash. We've reviewed beer previously from Allagash. Allagash is out of Maine. And with this, we are going with their barrel and bean. This was something shopping today through State Line. Talked about State Line before. They got everything and anything, and I figured what better place to go shopping for pairing than to hit State Line. And I was well rewarded with it. We got out of Allagash. We've got their barrel and bean, which is a triple. This clocks in at 9.8%. And triple does not mean that it's triple 3 times of anything. It's not like a triple IPA or double IPA. Same goes for a double. They don't mean that they're doubled up on anything. They're tripled up on that. It's a Belgian style. What that means is it simply indicates kind of the alcohol content of the beer. Triples, doubles, and even quads. These are all beers that we're going to be brewed in the Trappist tradition. For those that don't know, Trappists, they're monks who follow the rule of St. Benedict, and in beer speak and beer land, we know Trappist as Belgian Abbey style beer. And with that, as we said, it usually marked the quality and the strength of that. And triples were generally going to be the strongest beer that was in a monastery's repertoire. And I guess in the case of a quad, well, that's going to be our strongest beer from that monastery. And then obviously the triple would be next, and then quad, double would be behind that, and then singles would be at the very bottom. So, and I guess the other thing that also read about is another reason why they're called triples is supposedly the beer barrels, I take this a little bit with a grain of salt, but they were marked with X's to signify the strength. So in that case, they'd be marked with 3 X's. So triple X, X-rated beer. But in any event, triples are usually, they're going to be golden ales. They're not going to be dark, and they're going to clock in about 9+%. And while we're going to have a simple grain profile, we're going to get a lot more of the flavors from the Belgian yeast fermentation that goes on. And then it's going to be mixed in with complex notes coming from the fruits and spices that are used in these beers. So a good triple is definitely going to be one that's easy to drink. And actually, I guess really, that goes for any beer. But in our case with the Allagash, this does start as a triple, as we said, but it actually goes through transformation, as Allagash states that they go ahead and they age this beer in bourbon barrels, and they're going to do it for about 2 months. And then from there, they're going to blend it in with cold brew coffee from another main company called Speckled Axe. They state, they end up using these sun-dried Ethiopian beans, and they're known for their stone fruit and dark berry flavors. So what we're going to expect out of this is we should have strong caramel, bourbon obviously coming from the barrels, and coffee notes that are in here. So we're going to go ahead, crack it open, give a little space for everything. Gotta find my bottle opener, and we'll go ahead and, a little difficult here, but hopefully this doesn't explode on me. That would not be good. Actually, it'd be good for you guys, but not good for me. I guess make good entertainment if that exploded on camera. So, but we'll go ahead and pour it out. Oh, we got enough space in here. Didn't really check that. I probably should have, but I figured we got a small. So, there we go. We'll go ahead and we'll just sit for there. Let it sit. Pour it into our beer goblet that we got going on. And as we kind of see, we do have a nice golden color on it. Good, nice see-through that we get out of that. We got a nice good head that comes up on that. So we'll go ahead and give it a smell. And nothing too overpowering at this point. I don't know. Maybe my nose is blocked or something, but not getting anything really coming through. So we're going to go ahead and give it a swig. Clean up the mustache. Ooh, there we go. Yep. Ooh, I do get some of the coffee off of that, so that is good. I was a little bit on the back side. Wasn't too right up front biting. definitely. Ooh, and there we go. I feel kind of the bourbon definitely on the backside with that is kind of breathe out. Not getting too much of the caramel that's in there, but definitely there is a bourbon and the coffee. Got the coffee on that notes of hitting after the kind of the first sips that came into there. And the bourbon after it kind of sat for a little bit and breathing out. We'll give it another hit and yeah, kind of get the same thing. So we'll go ahead. We're gonna pair it up with our cookie. So we'll kind of match that up and see how we kind of see if I match them up and we can bring out some of the flavors that are in there. So pardon me. That actually that goes pretty well. So as I'd hoped, kind of we have a lighter beer. We're not too heavy on everything. So the cinnamon coming out from the cookies kind of blends well. As we said, we got that kind of coffee on the backside and the bourbon. I could kind of feel it as chewing the oatmeal raisin, kind of chewing that and feeling the bourbon come back off of the backside of the beer and kind of blend it in. Nice, cool, refreshing, kind of off of the bourbon to mix in with the sweetness of the raisins and the twang of the cinnamon that goes in there. So we'll go ahead and we'll see even about dunking our cookies, see if that matches up on there. So we'll go ahead and give it a try. So who says we only got to dunk cookies in milk? So we're going to go ahead and dunk in there. We'll show it in there. Prove that I'm actually dunking it. Pardon me. So yeah, that actually does work. Nothing wrong with dunking your cookie in beer. It's definitely a good flavor profile that comes through in there. No, neither side is overpowering any other side. It's definitely a good compliment. So, you know, if you're, for Christmas cookies, this definitely will work. This is definitely a thumbs up off of that. This is not a lump of coal in our stocking. This is definitely the nice big gift under the tree. There's a good blending of the flavor profiles from the cookies along with the beer. Highly recommend this mix. Um, you know, so it's good. It brings out, they complement each other well. That's what we're going to look for in a pairing. You know, Again, didn't really feel anything too bad with that. The mix of what we had from Allagash, the flavor profiles from there, on the while not on the front side that I at least noticed, some others may, but at least for me, on the back side, you know, definitely kind of taste the flavor profiles kind of coming out on that, and it helps with the cookies as it's going down for everything. So, but hopefully you all enjoyed this. We'll be back next week, definitely with another beer pairing. We'll see what we got in the repertoire. We see what cookies we'll bake up. Go ahead, prep. Manage to do all my baking on Fridays. We prep the dough on the weeknights. Stick them in baggies, Ziploc bags. Stick them in the refrigerator. So then when I'm off on Fridays, it's a baking marathon. Just pull a bag out, slap it on the cookie trays, throw it in the oven, and rock and roll. Definitely a tip for you if you are baking cookies. Put them in the refrigerator. Let the dough chill. It reduces your spread, sets them up nice and firm. As you can kind of see again, when our cookies, we don't have big flat, thin cookies. We got nice big, thick, fluffy cookies that we get out of that, and that comes from chilling the dough. That is probably one of the number one things. The other big number one thing on there is get your butter and your eggs up to room temperature. You don't want to use those cold. They're going to mix them better. They're going to blend better. It's going to work. If you haven't ever done it, don't worry about the eggs infecting you. Get them up to room temperature. You're going to bake them anyway. So anything that might have come out bad, you're going to kill it in the oven. Don't worry about it. It's definitely good. And chilling the cookie dough firms it all up, reduces that spread. Even another little recommendation if you want to get out from that is when you roll your balls out, I'm a 12-year-old, as my wife says. Sorry. When you roll the cookie dough balls out, make them into little smaller, tall towers. That again helps reduce the spread. It takes longer to bake and spread them out in connection with your cookies. So, little tip for you. So hopefully that helps you out, and hopefully this helped you out for when you're out at a party this Christmas, this holiday, whatever you may be celebrating. And they got oatmeal raisin out there. If you got a nice triple, coffee flavored even, it's gonna definitely help you out on there. I definitely recommend a coffee profile, whether it is a stout, the barrel and bean, or any other flavors that might be out there. It's going to help out. It just kind of warms that breakfast type feel across the whole board for everything. So thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back next week with another edition of, I guess, beers and cookies. And we'll return back to beers and bots once we're out of the holiday season. So thanks, guys. Catch you later. Bye.